Georgia seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A.1 of Rule 9, I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows.
Recognized.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, "I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen." Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar continued, "For as long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system." Whereas George Washington warned in his farewell address of 1796 to guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism, and further declared citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Whereas these statements by Representative Omar clearly violate the oath she took as an elected member of Congress to defend and protect the United States Constitution. Whereas Representative Omar has exhibited the treasonous tendencies George Washington warned about, and her actions must be condemned by all members of Congress who adhere to the oath they took upon assuming office. And whereas by openly admitting her efforts to advance Somalia's interest using her position as a United States representative, Representative Omar has revealed herself to be a foreign agent acting on behalf of a foreign government. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota be censured. Representative Ilhan Omar forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. Representative Ilhan Omar be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker, and Representative Ilhan Omar be and is hereby removed from the Committee of the Budget and the Committee on Education and the Workforce.
Let's go, Nevada! You know, they told me it was going to be hot out here. But you want to know something? I work in the hellhole called Washington, D.C. All you freedom-loving Americans make this feel like a cool day. Well, the reason why I'm here, Nevada, is because my state of Georgia is just like your state. We're a swing state. We're on the verge of being taken over by the Democrats. But are we going to let that happen? Hell no. No, we're fighting. You know, ever since they stole the election in 2020, yeah, they stole it. Do you think they're going to try to steal it again? Yeah, me too. I think they are too. Let me tell you, though, here's our situation. We've got corrupt states like New York. I tell you what, New York should be ashamed, absolutely ashamed. I am especially pissed off at the state of New York, and I'll tell you why. They don't have a justice system. You can't take them seriously. The state of New York, the great New York Police Department, arrested an illegal alien. They had him in there. They arrested him. The justice system of New York refused to prosecute this guy, this monster. Then he came to Georgia and he killed our girl, Laken Riley. So you want to tell me that we're supposed to take the court system in New York serious when they convict President Trump of 34 fake felony counts? No, that's right. It's bullshit. You called it right there. That's not a justice system. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, I like Nevada. That's great. You guys are great. No, it is bullshit. And you want to know something? We aren't going to tolerate it. The Democrats and the fake news media want to constantly talk about, oh, President Trump is a convicted felon. Well, you want to know something? The man that I worship is also a convicted felon. And he was murdered on a Roman cross. We've seen political corruption. We have seen this throughout history. This is nothing new. It's just the first time in American history we have been forced to deal with it. Now, here's how we deal with it, America. Here's how we deal with it, Nevada. You have to tell your friends and family, I'm sorry, friends and family. You have to get over being tired of the drama you see on the news. Because if we do not show up and vote on November 5th, if we do not bring all of our friends and family out, the drama that everyone is sick and tired of is going to get worse. Because I work with the Democrats. I listen to them every single day. They're going to raise your taxes. They're going to destroy generational wealth. That's right, you're going to be broke. And you think gas prices are high now? Just wait until you're forced to drive an electric vehicle. Exactly. Yes. Y'all may become my favorite place to go. America is sick of it. And then this illegal invasion. Here's another problem. We've got everybody in Washington, D.C. all up in a roar about every other foreign country and their foreign wars and their foreign borders. But we have a war on our own border. And it's being waged by the Mexican cartels. But we have the cowards in Washington that refuse to acknowledge this. And Joe Biden is claiming he's doing something about border security. He's a liar. Well, we know what the theme of the Biden administration is, and it's been chanted here today. Bullshit. Okay, Nevada. Okay, so here's how we clean up the bullshit. On November 5th, get everybody you know to vote for my favorite president, Donald John Trump. Let's go.
Yes, Madam Speaker, today I'd like to address and let's talk about the Green New Deal. You know, this is a serious issue right now. It used to be a piece of legislation that most Republicans in the country laughed at and thought was some sort of high school project turned in as a House resolution, but it's actually something that America needs to take serious because it's written in the infrastructure bill and it's written in the $3.5 trillion budget. So the Green New Deal is rapidly becoming a very real reality for America, which is tragic. First thing I'd like to talk about is I'm always shocked as a freshman member of Congress in the dysfunction of Congress. You see, tonight I'm starting a speech that was difficult to schedule, not knowing when we would be able to start the speech based on the House floor constantly changing. But this is the order of affairs in Washington that's always shocking to me. You see, I come from the private sector in the real world where people work every single day, do a good job, solve problems, and they make a profit. But the difference in the real world and what I would consider a very messed up world here in Washington, D.C., is here in Congress, everything's upside down. We're not able to keep a schedule that runs well. As a matter of fact, it runs wrong most of the time. Another problem is everything that's produced with the taxpayer dollars here in Congress produces a loss, continuing to keep the American people in debt. Everything that happens here in Congress is shocking to me because I can't believe how opposite the bills and the discussions are of what freedom stands for in our Constitution, especially on the wall where it says, "In God we trust." So as just a regular American citizen that decided to run for Congress and won my race representing Georgia's 14th District, I'm here to speak on behalf of the American people and how outraged we are at the policies of the Green New Deal, which are in the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill and the $3.5 trillion budget, because these policies are the most America last policies. As a matter of fact, they do nothing but put China first. Taylor, you can put up number 2 now. So we'll go ahead and address what these policies are that are so shocking to me. And if the American people actually knew what these policies are, these globalist America last policies are, I believe they would be ringing every single phone up here, probably demanding that Congress go home because America is only safe when Congress is out of session. But unfortunately, Congress is in session, so let's tell the truth about what's happening. You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real. The Green New Deal, surprise, serves China and China only. You can go ahead and put number 1 up. So today, talking about the Green New Deal and the all-out war on the men and women who built this country, which is definitely happening every single day here in Congress, Democrats want to turn the lights out on America. They want to shut down our economy. They want to end our energy independence and surrender America, putting us on our knees to China, dependent on China, yes, just to drive a car or a truck. And that's not at some distance time in the future. That's pretty soon, especially in less than 10 years. In his last 6 months as president, Joe Biden has demonstrated that he'd rather listen to Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the climate Democrats that want to do what's best for America. He's raising an army of vaccine police and climate justice troops to track your every single move. Yes, American citizens, the government wants to track you. On top of that, Democrats in Congress are happy to take every penny of Americans' hard-earned paycheck to destroy our economy through the so-called Green New Deal. A complete government takeover of every aspect of our lives under the excuse of so-called climate justice. This is not a theoretical idea for these people. Unfortunately, you would think it's a joke, but it's not. No, they want to transform America into a third world country, and that's exactly what these policies will do. To quote Senator Ed Markey, the Green New Deal isn't just a resolution, it's a revolution. In the past 2 years, the Green New Deal has become the DNA of climate action, and the principles of jobs, justice, and climate action are now widely represented in legislation and state and local actions across the country. The Green New Deal provides the framework we need to confront the intersecting crises our country faces: climate change, a public health pandemic, racial injustice, and economic inequality. We can transform our economy and our democracy for all Americans by addressing the generational challenge of climate change. We have the technology to do it. We have the economic imperative. We have the moral obligation. We just need the political will. So let's talk a little bit more about the people that believe in this. One of my colleagues here in the House of Representatives, my colleague, Democrat from New York, I had asked her to debate this policy because, you see, I believe in debate. I believe the American people deserve to know exactly what's in these bills and the outcome and the effect on the economy. As a successful business owner who makes a profit and not a loss, I would like to debate my colleague from New York and talk to her about how her policies are actually going to destroy jobs and do nothing for the climate, because the reality is the climate's changed in the entire history of the earth, and no amount of taxes that anyone can pay is going to change the climate. And that's just the truth. That's not made up like climate change and climate justice. So according to Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, the dozens of bills that have sprung from this resolution since we introduced it 2 years all contain, number one, a commitment to creating good-paying union jobs. Number two, prioritizing frontline and vulnerable communities disproportionately affected by climate change. I didn't know the climate affected some communities and not others. I'm from Georgia. It's pretty hot and humid. I didn't know that it had anything to do with the color of our skin or how much money that we made. But apparently, according to Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, it does. You see, she says, number three, reducing greenhouse gas emissions from human sources by 40 to 60% within 10 years and net zero global emissions by 2050, in line with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's finding that global temperatures must not increase more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrialized levels in order to avoid the most severe impacts of climate change. I find it pretty shocking that people actually think that members of Congress and their legislation is actually going to control the Earth's temperature or the climate. You know, really what all of this is going to do is help this man out the most, President Xi of China. It's sad, really, really sad. The White House proudly stated that President Biden rejoined the Paris Agreement on day one and organized a national climate task force to establish a new 2030 emissions target. In April, President Biden committed to having greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and creating a carbon pollution-free power sector by 2035. As other countries race past us, President Biden wants to dismantle and cripple the United States energy grid in order to look good at climate events in Europe, while China laughs at our decline. And oh yes, President Xi will be laughing, and he's already laughing at President Joe Biden right now, because President Xi himself knows one thing very clear. If we're going to reduce our carbon emissions, cutting them down in half by 2030, that means we're cutting our economy in half by 2030. So President Xi of China, who's very clever and thinks the long game, is planning on ramping up his economy, as a matter of fact, increasing carbon output, he says, until at least 2035. And then while President Joe Biden says, oh, America's carbon will be net zero by 2050, President Xi is still laughing, saying, oh, well, maybe China can try to get to net zero by 2060. You see, China is gaming us at our own stupidity. We have a president in the White House that is looking to do everything he can to serve China, and maybe that'll help out his son in his business dealings in foreign countries like China. Under the woke ideology of Biden's Environmental Protection Agency, public waters could mean any source of standing water the government feels constitutes waters of the United States. What does that apply to? Does that apply to someone's pond on their private land or a private lake in someone's on their farm? What does that apply to? A puddle in your front yard or your swimming pool in your backyard? Are those going to be considered waters of the United States so the federal government can come and say whatever they want to do with them? Who knows? That means the federal government can claim jurisdiction over millions of acres of privately owned land and water under the